You never know how cool things might get.
Right on.
Badri, namaste, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Haribol,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
I'm so grateful you're here. I need to make sure the sound is better. Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure I got the sound coming through so I didn't record the thing. So everybody who's listening to this is my brother. This is Badri. Badri is probably one of the most important people that I've ever met. And, you know, of course, I only have a very short life in this chance to meet people. It's only a one lifetime. But I've known a few people I care about, and this is one of them I care a lot about. So I'm very grateful that you've had the time to join me right now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, dude.
Well, I'm just so grateful that you're here. So how are you? You know, what's going on where you're at? Where are you right now?
Right now, if I can be as honest as possible, I'm here at my house in Los Angeles, California, at my parents' place.
You know, I don't want to tell people too much, but how do I say this? This is the place where it's very close to where the South Park episode about the KFC happened, let's say.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the most important streets in any town in USA that there really is. This is where people see things happen. You know, this is actually
it's a very central spot.
Very close to the Huasteca Temple.
Middle of Los Angeles.
It's very close to the temple. There's like the Venice Beach temple right here. When I was young, and I guess at this point I feel like that's the truth, because at the time I felt super old when this happened to me, but I don't anymore. When I was a teenager, I was robbed right outside in Venice Beach in Hollywood. And I was, you know, that dream people have where they're naked or in their underwear in public, in front of everyone in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, that happened to me. And this was the guy who bothered to save me. And him and his brothers came to my rescue because I was walking around in leopard print boxers.
Yeah. I remember that. With the orange on the element.
How old were you? How old were you at that moment? You remember?
I must have been like 14.
Yeah, you were like fresh out of childhood into adolescence. You were like, what's going on?
I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, I've been locked out of my car. I've been robbed, and these guys actually saved me. They like
the leopard print boxers part.
Yeah, I mean, they were like from the leopard print boxers. Well, you know, what's also crazy is what you guys gave me, because I got a shirt. I think I got your pants and your brother's shirt, or maybe I got a pair of green tartan, like plaid tartan pants to cover me, and a shirt that was covered in blood red, I would say, but I don't know what else to call it. The color that was Krishna. Oh, you've got a fidget spinner. Where's my fidget spinner? Can someone find my fidget spinner? Can you grab my fanny pack? Because he's using his fidget spinner and I need it. You know where my fanny pack is? Can you grab it? It's really important. It's right underneath you. Come on. I need it. I need it. Oh, so important. So important. Oh my gosh. You're so on it right now. You know, they say that the Bogdanov brothers invented the fidget spinner in order to share free energy with us. Yeah. Oh, yours is super cool. I like yours. That's amazing.
That's my chakra.
Very cool. I don't know if mine quite is. It's quite the same, but it's got that thing going for it. I got it from China, though, to be real. Well, okay. So, but okay, so I'm in Venice Beach, and I get a pair of green tartan pants, and I get a gray shirt that's not bleached. It's just a regular cotton, real cotton, and it's got all of the prayers, Ganesh, Krishna. It's got the Govinda spin, I think, around it. And you guys gave me this, and it was like being wrapped in, you know, in a prayer and being saved. And it was a crazy experience, because I was young at the time. I was like 16. I was 17. I don't remember, 19 maybe. I don't know. It's so long ago. It feels like I was a kid.
Remember?
And your mom was like, "This is what's going on?" You know, and like Sobriety met me once before, and then he's like, you know, this guy, he's crazy, but he's interesting. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Babataha Namakim, because, you know, to your father, Babataha, but to your mother, Babataha. And Mama Nama Andres, and she's like, why do you know Sanskrit? I was like, well, you know,
People don't even really speak that anymore.
well, the same reason you might have said the same thing, because they made me. My parents made me. You know, your parents made you.
Right on.
And your mom. It's not like a choice. It wasn't like I was seeking this circumstance. You know, that's the other thing that I think made this happen. It was happen. And your mom's like, this is a trip. Because today I'm supposed to initiate my bros, my buddies, my boys, my sons into this, you know, this whole thing, the Brahmin priesthood. And we have an extra strap, and we're not supposed to have an extra strap. And it's not like they don't know, and it's just too weird. So she does the prayer. By the way, you remember Govinda? There's a picture of your brother wearing this rainbow hat right above you, right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everything ties together. So your mom was like, okay, should I initiate him into the priesthood? To which, you know, her prayers respond to her, yes. But she's also asked, like, is this going to give her a lot of extra karma? And to it, they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, definitely a lot of extra karma. An extra son? Ooh, brutal. So ever since then, I felt, you know, a special connection to your family. But also because we did the, you know, religion, I'm initiated because of your mother into the Brahmin priesthood. And I don't feel like the expert on that in any respect. So sometimes people ask me these questions and I'm like, well, you know, it's like being connected to something that's so big that you need to have the right answers to. You need to know someone who really spent their whole life in this. And, you know, I feel like you're somebody that, like, whenever I'm like, oh my gosh, can I get Badri? Do you have time? Do you ever have time? Can we do this? So I just wanted to ask you a bunch of questions about, like, basically everything from your life, from what, you know, let's start with, like, who you are, how you were grown, and then also, like, what this impact has meant for you in terms of where you are now, and what do you have to do with it, you know, because I feel the same thing now that I have to do something with it, but, you know, it's traumatic. So tell me more about yourself first off.
Sure, man. Well, I am Badri Narayan Tulsi Ram. That's my full name. And I've been vegetarian my whole life. I was raised at a Hare Krishna temple. So I grew up at a temple, and all my friends growing up were also vegetarian, and they were all part of the temple, all have like Sanskrit names, you know, like Mukunda, Sanandana, Vraja, Bala, like we all have like Sanskrit names. And you know, we were just like brought up in this like Hare Krishna world, but in the middle of Los Angeles while being surrounded by like all sorts of varieties of culture. So it was very like interesting upbringing. And growing up, we would always like, if there was like a kid from the outside who would come to our temple, we'd always like, you know, just tell them about like why eating meat is bad and like why you should become vegetarian, and we'd like teach them about karma and all this stuff from like when we were like 9 years old. Even we would like tell like kids that were like 9, 10, like this stuff. And like a lot of them, like when they became our friends, they like actually, you know, stayed with the temple and stuff. And some of them, they're like still vegetarian to this day, and they'll still come to the temple. And it's like cool how like we'd have that like positive influence on people to like help them make that like change. And so actually when I was getting older, since I was brought up in the Hare Krishna community, I wanted to stray away naturally and rebel. So when I was a teenager, I was also a very deep thinker. I've always been like a bit of a philosopher from a young age, asking like, I would always ask why. That was like my big thing as a kid. It was like always like trying to find the reason why certain things are the way they are. And I basically questioned everything and ended up identifying as an agnostic and then identifying as an atheist when I was coming out of high school. And I love to debate with people about why God does not exist and all these things. And I was so sure of myself. And basically, after reading The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, I realized that he was very pessimistic, and I felt like I didn't actually like him and didn't want to become like him after reading his book. I was like, I don't want to be like him. He seems so close-minded. And I was like, just reading it, I was like realizing how close-minded he was, though intelligent. Like, if you want to learn about like evolutionary biology, then like for sure Richard Dawkins is like, you know, really smart and knows a lot about that topic. But like being so sure that God doesn't exist, that's like how can you really, like, from a philosophical point of view, how can you really be sure of that? So that actually made me go back to being agnostic after reading his book, ironically. And I became open-minded. I wanted to be more open to the possibility that God could exist. And then just having that openness allowed me to like experience so much. And I had like an experience that can only be described as like a white light experience, or like seeing something higher than myself. And that just burned away all my doubt. And from that moment, I was like kind of given enlightenment. And it happened through like my third eye chakra by touching an amethyst crystal to my third eye chakra. And then my like I was like transported to another dimension where I just see a giant toe, and it's like glowing, emanating light brighter than like 10,000 suns, like just so bright and like beautiful and scary at the same time. And I'm just looking at this in amazement and like tears flowing from my eyes. And I look up and I see like this face, and I looked at these eyes, and the eyes were like the most scariest eyes I've ever seen, like with like lava. It looked like lava and magma, like the inside of a volcano. And it was just like scary. But like these eyes that were like everything in one. So after that, I pulled the crystal away from my forehead, and I was back in my body, and I felt like I just like, you know, I couldn't speak basically. I couldn't talk for like an hour. And I was only able to like, I was like muttering. I was like, ah, ah, ah. And from that moment, I knew that there was something higher than myself. And I started studying religion after that. So I now have a degree in religious studies from UC Santa Barbara, which I just received. And yeah, man.
Man, I mean, like when you became, so basically you're a skater Brahmin priest. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're like like, and your brothers are also skater Brahmin priests. And you were like, I don't know, man, like what is this whole avatar thing? And you know, it hit you in the, and luckily you were so sattvic. And this is another thing, because you're talking about veganism, and this is a lot of people that I'm talking to are just now like, whoa, man, what if I didn't murder all the time? How would that affect me? And like it's important, you know, like don't get me wrong, like you have to think about that. Like if you don't, you're gonna just, so I mean, you know the story where I think you were there even, where like I had not eaten meat because I'd been with you guys for like months, and when you guys first met me, I was wearing leather Birkenstocks. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, you know, it's totally cool because like plastic's murdering tons of animals anyway, and there's hyper incarnation. You guys like, I don't know about that. Because you know, Sobriety had that circumstance happen to him where, you know, some kids were like, you like this food, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm visiting you. I'm a guest. You know, it's great. Like the soup is great with noodles from Japan. What is it? It's beef flavored top ramen. And they were like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, I have to like literally chastise myself in like ways that you don't understand because you haven't studied the physics of Aryan. Like, you know, I mean, it's not something that's on the level for a lot of people. So now I know a lot of people that are like, oh man, I'm going to become a vegan. And there's another side of it. And I think you've seen that as an LA person. It's like you see people that are like, you know, I didn't kill anything. I'm going to go to gratitude and I'm going to eat like some vegan, organic, and I don't need to pray over my food because I didn't murder anything. Except for like billions and billions and billions and billions, entire cosmos worth of tiny little Horton here's who little organisms that live inside of the vegetables. And, or worse, they murdered the vegetable. it's a bulb, you know. It's not what the Jains accepted. It was a bulb. It's not a fruit from a tree. It's not a toenail, or like you said, a toe, right? And it's this big thing about like the difference between murder and being part of the system as best you can without murdering. Not that you can ever really get away with not inhaling and exhaling life, you know, because you're a dirt God breathed. It's not just one religion that says that. You know, the Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, Jainism, let's get to the point of Veda, like you're inhaling life. That's what God is, giving you creation. So, but you went and you were like, I don't know, man, I see a lot of people that are evil around me. So that's not necessarily, or pretentious at least, because you were pretty close to people that I noticed to be pretty good. But I find it interesting while you were kind of being like, I got to get the heck out of here. I mean, I know a lot of members from your community now that got out because they were like, I'm different and I don't belong here. You know, I can't wear pink all the time. That's too conservative. You know, I have to try new things. You know, what if I wear a black or white shirt? What if that were what I were to do? Is that okay? You know, it's not acceptable. I have to wear pink like everybody else. I don't know. So, or orange at least, you know. But you've got people that are like trying to present that this is the normative. And you're like, well, I'm punk rock. I don't need to be the normative. I need to figure out what I am. But what you find is the people that have, I mean, this is the crazy thing that led me to, at the same moment I'm meeting you, that you're like trying to converge out of the church and I'm coming into it. Because I'm thinking, okay, something's going on where God is yelling at me, like Jonah and the whale. Like I wanted to go east and God's like, no. But it's being a whale going west and I land in your like neighborhood. So there's something going on where it's like, no, listen to these people, you know? And you're even doing the same thing where you're like, what? And I'm thinking, okay, the fruit of the tree matters. So what kind of tree is it? And I look at these people that are not having the right intention when they plant the tree. And I'm seeing your group, and I think you ended up luckily seeing the same thing, which was like that there's positivity to righteousness to action, not just because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But there's something to be said for following what God wanted, because, you know, I mean, that's what the Bhagavad Gita preaches essentially. It's like, if you do this, these are the consequences. And if you don't do these things, there are other consequences. And Richard Dawkins is following another route, which has different consequences from the righteous consequences. So, I mean, that tended to be like why I noticed so hard, you know, what was going on with your mother, you know, and why she was pushing so hard for this faith. I don't know, but comment, please.
Yeah. I mean, something that I learned was that after having like my revelation was there's not like anything is totally wrong or anything's totally right. And then like in any system you could find that like that substance that is one with what God's intentions are. And yeah, man, like that like perennial philosophy is like Aldous Huxley would say. Like he takes all these things from the East and the West and he kind of like makes this like this thing that's like what is like this modern belief system that draws from all these different sources. And it's like shows that despite all our differences, like there's wisdom in everything.
So what is the wisdom that you decided you want to hold on to, that you don't want to let go of? That what's the thing that you found, like when you say like, is righteousness something that you live for, or is justice something you live for, or is existentialism? What's the most important thing? Have you found something that you prioritize in your pursuit of life? Like is there a word for it?
Yeah. I think it's important to kind of like surrender yourself and avoid doing things from ego and kind of just putting your trust in like a power that's higher than yourself, in that believing that that's going to take you in the direction you need to go. Because I draw from a lot of different sources for my spirituality, but I think like that's one of the most important factors is surrendering to that power that's greater than you. And, you know, right action and doing the right thing and having like a good set of morals and sticking to it and being consistent with what you believe.
So one of the things I've noticed in Christianity or Judaism to Islam to Christianity. It's really one thing that has like a branch off in 1492. It seems like is this action of, you know, and the difference between the Gita and the Bible a lot of the time is the Gita's like Krishna and Rama do these things and it works, and you know, check out how what it does. The Bible's like these people screwed up, and then this is what happened to their families for generations. You know what I mean? So why is Krishna, or whom would you refer to as like the person that's a correct role model between like the avatars, you know, Vishnu, and like how do you feel about Rama? I mean, these are the kind of questions, because we started this call, you know, like Hare Krishna. You know, you corrected me in a sense. So why Krishna?
Name Hari Bol just means to say the names of Hari. Bol means to like say or sing, or you know, and then Hare Krishna is just names of Hari. It's not like it wasn't like a correction. It's just like a reiteration.
I mean, I like to toy with myself, but there is something to be said about the different layers of Vishnu and what Hari is, and also, I mean, the mantra action. So what is Hari? Let's start with the basics for people. How would you describe Hari?
Hari is like a name for Vishnu. There's so many names, you know. For one god, there's infinite names. Maybe there's like so many names, and that's one of the ones that Hindus, Vaishnavas use in particular. And we were asking about like Krishna and Rama and like the different avatars. So Rama, he came before Krishna, like maybe some 30,000 years ago or something like that in India. And back in that day, the Ramayana is really cool. Like it's one of my favorites, like legends growing up. And you like, you know, learn a lot about morality and like, you know, how he treated even his enemies was like righteous. And he really was like the example of like how to be the moral man, like Rama.
Even the way he treated his wife, Sita, is such a crazy. It's like it's so just. It's unfair. You know what I mean?
Right. When looking at it from like that point of view, like I've taken classes in college where like they really picked at how Rama treated his wife, and as a Hindu, I was offended naturally. But I mean, it was like I was never even taught that, and then so it was like the sort of stuff that was like seemed like it was like just not taught, like, oh, like, you know, he made her walk through the fire, but like the way they said it made it seem so negative to me.
Right. Well, you guys don't have. I mean, you don't have the precedent or monopoly over culture that the Vatican does. The Veda doesn't have the Vatican's monopoly over culture. So when they say it, you know, I mean, for me, I'm bemused because it just shows how satanic our culture has gotten. That they would present that the treatment of Sita was unrighteous, because really what it is, it just shows how Luciferian their culture has gotten. They've decided to say that Rama has done wrong by allowing her to have the trial by fire. And it's true. The worst part is that he's trapped. It's kind of a better metaphor for Rama would be to say Mace Windu in Star Wars, because there's a point where he doesn't want to, but he has to try to attack Sidious. It's not that he's interested in murder or anything like that. It's justice. And so with Sita, he's like, well, I don't want to kill her for the trial by fire, but it'll prove she's innocent to the world. And I'm in a position where I am demanded others see her innocence. So I will do what is righteous and just. It's a mathematical justice. It's not the Taoist interpretation of like, well, you know, I know it's right, so I'll just do it. Because other people will be like, oh, yeah, well, sure, we'll trust you because you're blue. You know, I mean, like, not everybody's going to believe it. But the problem is, you know, what Rama ends up having happen because of this, and I know you do, but like some people don't. Sita says, I'll tell you what, I've already done the trial by fire. I'll do something better. If I'm wrong, if I'm a liar, let the world keep me. But if I'm right, if I'm telling you the truth and honest, let the world swallow me up. And guess what? Rama loses his wife to the world. It swallows her up. And if that's not the brutalist metaphor for righteousness, I don't know what justice is. So I don't think that they've really bothered to see it from the classical or the correct interpretation. Today, we're taught ethics from an Anton LaVey sort of satanic perspective. But so, okay, maybe another thing would be like, why is Rama important? Why? I mean, because we're talking about these deities. You know, what are deities anyway? And like, why is Rama one of them? Is he more than just another blue guy or something? Like, is he a Smurf? You know, like, there's a reason why Rama is important.
Well, it's basically like how Hindu religion is that we believe that God incarnates on this planet every time that there's a religion, and he has like a reason to incarnate and set some sort of example or standard for us. And Ram is the 7th incarnation of Vishnu, and his purpose is known as like kind of being that standard for morality.
So what is incarnation even? Like, what, you know, in terms of like, you know, we talk about reincarnation. What is an incarnation?
Oh, right. So that's like
incarnate.
Like, to me, that's just like a given or something. But I guess like
right, I know, yeah. I was just thinking the same thought. Like, can I even ask that question?
Well, because it's like Vishnu is like another dimension, I guess, and then so he's like taking a birth on this planet as like a human, basically. So he's like taking a birth. So he's sending him. He's like, you know, incarnating. Like he's like coming from like Vaikuntha to Earth.
And Vaikuntha, try. I mean, this is the brutalist questions, right? Like, what is Vaikuntha? Is it an energy? Is it consciousness? Is it awareness? How would you describe Vaikuntha?
I've always thought of it as like a place, even like a place,
like a physical realm. It's a realm, a luminary realm.
A realm, but it's like heavenly. It's a heavenly realm. It's like heaven.
So a hyper awareness realm where they're aware of more than just the dimensions of this earth realm. And then from there, it's incarnate, like out of meat comes this being, right? So what's the value of that? Why is it necessary for us to be associated with a god that we can, as opposed to Islam, where you can't have an incarnation? That's like a rule that they have. Why is it so valuable? Why is it so much of a part of the Veda?
There's actually like a story that, do you know Narada Muni?
Tell us about Narada Muni.
Narada Muni is like, he's a great sage who's like involved in a lot of the pastimes of Lord Vishnu. He is always exploring the universes and chanting Narayana, Narayana. And he's often seen with like this like stringed instrument that he has, and he's like a celestial musician. Also, he's like playing it, and he's just like involved in all these like dramas with God. And so the whole Ramayana is kind of like a result. I hope I know this story well enough to tell it, but
I've heard that before. The thing is, it changes in different people's versions, so feel okay. Don't worry, you heard it this way. It's all right.
Yeah. So basically, there was this like kind of planet or something where Narada Muni had taken birth as like some kind of ape, and he wasn't like attractive or something like that, and then he's like in love with this chick, and like some stuff happened, and then
he was a great musician. Don't forget that. This is a big part. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Like some other birth he had or something.
He could play the sitar with his the part in his stomach. What are those called? His organs. He could play the sitar with his what are the tubes? You know, what are they called? Intestines. He could play the sitar with his intestines. Sorry, that's my favorite story about Narada.
Oh, okay. I heard that one. But so I guess there was like something that happened where Narada Muni basically curses Vishnu to basically take birth on Earth and have to like rescue his wife, because and he was gonna have to seek help from monkeys. But like the curse,
monkeyians.
Yeah,
like reptilians, there are monkeyians. This is Sri Lanka, the monkeyians. Okay.
The Vanaras, they're called the Vanaras, the Vanara kingdom. They're like
it's a real thing. If you look up the land strait and you look at the land bridge of Sri Lanka, you'll find where the Vanarians are from. It's a real thing.
Well, actually, the Venaris people are from like India by the Himalayas, but the Rakshasas are the ones that were in Sri Lanka.
Oh, okay. So wait, correct me on this story. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Himalayas have the Venarian people. So that's the North Indians, right?
They're like, this is like 30,000 years ago. So I guess they're like,
Before the Aryans come.
they're humans. I guess you could say Rama was an Aryan, and the like the humans there, they're like, I guess, Aryans. But the monkey people that lived in the forest, because like their name comes from it, like the word forest, I think, kind of. And so they're like between monkeys and people, kind of.
Totally.
They're like, but they're like intelligent enough to like communicate with humans. They're like intelligent. They have kingdoms and kings and stuff.
Yeah, they're that exact like the Jungle Book, King Louis stuff.
Yeah, but they're more similar to humans. They're like if humans had tails and monkey faces, but like other than that, almost exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're like close to. And so
An Aryan means like noble, and like similar to noble gases. So it relates to like the divine human choice that's given to humans. So they're at the same time, you're saying, or is only the blue people no Aryans at that point?
I mean, I just kind of understood Arya. I pronounce it like that, Arya, to be like noble, but that's like, I don't know. I guess Rama was a Aryan. It's like I would guess so, but I can't be sure if I could verify that. But
30,000 years is
yeah,
okay.
because they were part of like the culture of having kings and queens and kingdoms and like this divine right and stuff like that. And so yeah, Rama, who is the son of King Dashrath, who was a ruler of the Solar dynasty, basically was Vishnu, who was cursed to live that lifetime by Narada Muni. And he meets Hanuman, who is like the monkey god. And they say he is and it's hard for me to remember all the details like off the top of my head.
30,000 years is a long time to remember the details. But that's important. Hanuman is he from the Sri Lankan kingdom,
No.
the Rashomon, or he's from Aryan?
India, which is like north of Sri Lanka.
Well, so that's the thing, is the kingdoms have all expanded, right? So you've got the many kingdoms of the Monkeans, and you've also got the Tamil kingdoms, and you've got the Sri Lankan kingdoms, and there's obviously a
Right.
land bridge that was connected as lost. So whereabouts in India, are they supposed to be from?
Ayodhya, which is like well, that's where Rama is from, Ayodhya, which is like northeast-ish, central east, I think, around there. And the Vanara people are like kind of just around the forest and stuff, and I'm not really sure, more like central probably. And the Rakshasas, which is like Ravana, he was a king of the Rakshasas who kidnapped Sita, is from Sri Lanka. And so that's where they had to go to like the Rakshasa kingdom to rescue her. But they say Ravana, who's actually like quite an intelligent king who had like, I think he even invented many things and come up with like all sorts of different ideas and stuff.
I may have actually mixed up. I think he played the sitar with his intestines. I'm sorry. I knew that was a big part of the story. There's an inventor there that was the king. I'm sorry, I mixed it up. So then he kidnaps.
Yeah. totally evil.
Well, I mean, he was a genius.
But he
and
did good things that like somehow have helped us or something that like
Yeah,
gets credited for.
he wasn't always doing the right thing. You know, you can do the right thing sometimes, but you gotta do the right thing all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he stole Ram's wife because it was almost like revenge because his sister had a crush on Rama. And so she went to go and try to like hit on him.
Dude, I did not hear that part. Please go into detail. What? This is the Degrassi episode of Rama.
There's like all dramatic. And then Lakshman, Rama's brother, cuts Ravana's sister's nose. And so she goes running, crying back to Ravana, telling her brother, you know, those puny princes of Ayodhya, look what they did to me. And like, and then she kind of mentions is that Ram's wife is beautiful. And then Ravana gets interested in that and also sees that as like a, you know, 2 for 2, like revenge and I get a beautiful.
Tit for tat. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he goes to visit them while they're in exile in the forest because he was exiled by one of his like stepmothers because he has like all these brothers but with different moms, and like one of his stepmoms wanted her son to be the next heir of the throne of Ayodhya. So she basically has some like wishes, boons, because she rescued the king in battle many years ago. So she uses her boons to make Rama go into the forest in exile and her son Bharat to become the king of Ayodhya. So Bharat becomes king and Rama gets exiled in the forest. And that's where, you know, Ravana goes to steal away Sita with the help of his uncle Marich, which is another demon.
And he's being helped by the Monkeans the whole time. That's like he's got the Monkean guy as his assistant in kidnapping Sita.
No. The monkeys are the good guys. The demons are bad. The monkeys are like they're like good.
Oh, this is an important part for everybody to know the difference between.
So like the demons, maybe, you know, like they have like pointy ears and like sharp canine teeth because they're also not, they're like eating whatever, they're drinking, they're doing like all these bad stuff.
Majestic behavior.
Yeah, and so they, I don't know, they were like kind of like have like ears that pointed up like this, kind of, you know.
Fox-like, right? Vulcan,
kind of like
Star Trekian elves.
Like how the elves have with the pointy ears like that.
Yeah.
And like teeth that came out like that, you know.
So they can get into the fang. So they have canine fangs, so they can get into the blood.
Yeah,
seriously, like serious dog stuff.
Yeah, but they're like also similar to humans. But
right, yeah, both of them are kind of all semi-human. You know, the Monkeans are kind of playful human, like the bonobos, and then these fanged chimpanzee murdering demon things. Right?
Yeah, the monkeys are like good vibes, though. You know, they're like they help Rama. They help Rama to rescue Sita. They're the ones who like built the bridge, actually, like for Rama.
The land bridge, the Sri Lankan land bridge, so like we can see from space even today on Google Images.
Yeah, it's like built by the Varaha people.
Pretty good job, guys. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It all seemed kind of. I heard this stuff as a kid because they were like trying to teach us this in cartoons. So I missed some of it. And it's been a while since I've heard all of it. But the thing is, they presented it. And now, as I'm older, it seems like there's so much precedent and scientific evidence for it. I mean, you could literally see it from space if you were to be there.
You can go on Google. You go on Google Earth.
At least you could do that. You can see it from Google Earth. Let's
go in like right now, and then just zoom into that point in Southeast India, Sri Lanka, and you could see it from Google Earth.
I mean, and you know, they've been talking about this for so long. I mean, like I think UFO is really just a bad term for whirling dervish, as the Bhagavad Gita describes the whirling dervishes that rode across the sky on the clouds, burning the clouds, which are like basically flying saucers. So, I don't know if they exist now, but they certainly existed in the Bhagavad Gita. There's enough evidence, I think, to say that was like there was high technology at a certain point in ancient times, and that they talked about it a lot. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Right on. So, Ravana, he comes to the forest, and with his uncle Marich, he gets his uncle Marich who is like could do like illusion magic and stuff, I guess. He gets him to turn into like a golden deer, and then Ravana disguises himself as a sage with like the orange cloth, and he has like the stick that like sages would have, and he's like going around begging for alms, like, oh, please feed this hungry sage. And so Sita spots the golden deer, and she's like, oh my god, Ram, can you capture that deer for me, please? It's so beautiful. And so Ram's like, for you, anything. And he like goes out to go and catch the golden deer he goes out to catch the golden deer, and then he figures out it's a demon, so he shoots it with an arrow. He's like, just as I expected, it's just a demon pretending to be a deer. And then the deer impersonates Rama's voice and shouts for help. And then Lakshman hears that, and he's like, oh man, I better go help. Like Sita's like, you should go help your brother. He seems he's in danger. And so Lakshman puts a like force field made of salt. He like makes a salt thing around the house, puts like a mantra on it to protect Sita, and he goes to check on Ram. And that's when Ravana makes his move and comes in begging for fruits and stuff. And he's like, if you do not feed this hungry sage, then your forefathers, fathers, and he's like gonna curse her basically. And so she falls for his trick and crosses the line made by Lakshman and falls into danger. And then he steals her away and flies over to Lanka.
And then from there, Sita is assumed to be, even though he can do his best for her and he can fight a war for her, she's assumed to be unchaste. They don't believe that she would have been unchaste in the hands of this king.
And so but apparently he didn't like.
No, he's actually not that horrible of a villain.
Yeah.
Actually, of all the things he didn't do that. He played it into a circumstance where it looked like everyone else did evil when they didn't. So then, therefore, everyone else they have to go through an unjust tribunal, and it shows the unfairness of the metaphysical court and of karma, the unfairness of karma in that particular incarnation, and how it needs to change. And I don't know if that's the right way to put it even. But is that it seems like that because not only did Rama do the right thing, not only did Lakshmi do the right thing, not only did Hanuman do the right thing, but everyone did. It seems like
even Ravana somehow. Everyone did their Dharma.
Everyone did their Dharma. Give me that bumper sticker.
Darth Vader, man, he was just doing his Dharma.
Oh my gosh, Dharma Vader.
Yeah, it's all part of the plot. We're all just actors playing our roles, right?
Right, the Jesuit staging, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, but then what ends up happening is, there's a war. There's a war over this because they want to get her back, right?
Yeah.
And how do they get the war to? So the monkeys have to fight the demons. They have to rescue Sita from Rashomon.
Yeah, Ravana,
sorry.
There's also a bunch of slaves there too. So on top of saving Sita, they're also rescuing a bunch of slaves.
Oh, okay. So what's up with the slaves? Where do the slaves come from?
Ravana, he had slaves, and he's
Where
like,
do you get them?
I don't know. He just
What kind of slaves are they? Are they demons? Are they monkeys?
they're humans.
Are they
They're
cat
human
people? Thundercats? What are they? Smurfs?
like humans.
Real humans. So humans were kept without choice. And they
Yeah.
were given choice by Rama when they were rescued.
Yeah. Yep. So he also saved Sita and all the slaves that Ravana was keeping.
So in a way, that might be the most important part of the story that's left out. That the consequence of all of humanity, it might be all considered all of humanity. Is that yoga? Yoga, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hey, how is Valencia, por favor?
Sí, weón, por favor, caballero. En Valencia.
Caballero.
No
Are you
sé.
just living there?
Sí, ahora yo soy con dueño in Valencia. I can't believe that your brother and you are at the same time. This is like too much extra. I'm pretty stoked. Well, I've been trying to do some videos with you guys for a while. I was actually thinking I'm probably gonna have to do one with you specifically, and you're coming to Spain, so I'm gonna have to meet you. It's gonna be really great. When are you coming, and where are you gonna be? Are you coming to Valencia?
No, Santander.
Santander, yeah, I can get there.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go to Santander, pick up a suitcase that I left behind.
This is the kind of story. I mean, please don't assume we're secret agents just because of the
A suit.
Okay, sure. Good one.
There's the Woodstock in Poland.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do that?
You have.
I'm down. I'm down to go with you, bro. Like I'm
pretty
sorry
sick.
to interrupt. We're talking literally about the Gita. Okay, and now you want to talk about music festivals. I'm just saying, like let's be real.
Well, we have a Bhagavad Gita play there.
Okay, well now you're twisting my interest into righteousness.
now we're combining it.
Yeah, totally legit. Okay, yeah, no, I'm super down. Actually, I'm thinking about buying a car in Poland, so we can do that.
You can buy one of those like Polish cars.
Yeah, of course. I love Slavic vehicles. Is that too weird? Yeah, I don't know.
No, I was just doing some research.
Powered by Pripyat Chernobyl. You know, they're very
noble. Like, turn on a dime type of cars.
Well, I'm glad you showed up. I mean, I don't know how much you're interested in this, but if you're around, like Badri and I are talking a bit about the Bhagavad Gita, and he's been explaining the story of Sita and how Rama had been kind of pushed into a hard place because everyone who was doing their Dharma ended up doing the right thing, even though some of it seemed super evil. And then the rescuing of the humans from the slavery of Rama, what's it again?
Ravana.
Yeah.
Ravana. So Ravana had actually at this point been so annoyed about what happened to his sister, which could be considered in the Western tradition, which is interesting also to compare it to Lilith in Eve and Lucifer, or Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. That Lucifer ended up thinking this is not acceptable, what's happened to Lilith. And so in order to give the humans choice, right? If you want to give the humans choice, you have to let them be free. Like, how do you do that? Well, there has to be a war. There's a war between heaven and earth. And who fights in the war between heaven and earth? Well, there are demons and there are monkeys. There are the people that are the monkeys. They're very animalistic and they're very playful and they're good guys. And then there are the demons, and the demons are kind of like Vulcans. They're the Star Trekian, lacking in emotional empathy, and they don't like to work with each other as much as the monkeys do. But what you have is this Star Warsian Darth Sidious thing where he's like, I've pushed you into Ravana has pushed them into a circumstance where they have to do what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And they're doing what's wrong by doing what's right. They have to follow the rules. And by following the rules, they end up putting Sita through a trial by fire. I think we're skipping ahead a bit, but this is the deal. Eventually he wins the war. Of course, Rama's going to win the war. He's blue. He's super cool. He's going to win the war. And the monkeys do a good job. And the demons do their best. But yeah, Rama wins, right? I don't know if you wanted to mention anything about why, because there's probably some cool anecdotes about why they do their best and why their best is what consequentially wins. but and go for it. But I just want to say also the point is that they win the war and then they're not satisfied. So Sita ends up on trial because they don't trust her because she's been in the presence of Ravana and they don't think that she could have possibly been chased.
Yeah, well, it was for a year. It was for a year, and Ravana is known to be a rapist.
He's a sexual deviant. I don't. Rapist is a
supposedly.
He played the sitar with his intestines. Okay.
Yeah, Vina. The Vina.
I mean, he was sexy. I mean, maybe if Sita was around him, she might have chosen to. They don't even know. The point is, she didn't. She was a chaste woman.
There's a scripture that even says that wasn't even real Sita. That was a Maya Sita that Ravana had, and real Sita was protected in another dimension.
Whoa. Okay, so this is the next Star Wars level. We've just really just now. I didn't hear this version. Complete Yoga. Can you?
Yoga showed up at this point because he knows like a little more than I do about some more like esoteric stuff, I guess.
You know a little bit more than Yoga about some esoteric stuff too. I know you both. Don't worry. You guys are equally different. It's useful. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, Maya Sita is like an illusionary form of Sita because no one can actually touch Sita except for Ram. So it has to be another like person of a Sita. It looks just like Sita's energy, like a clone Sita that Sita created while real Sita was somewhere else.
So in the multiverse of multiverses, as Donnie Darko might say, there is a Sita that didn't and did follow the rules. And the most, direct line is the correct Sita. And then the Sita that's incorrect or augmented, let's say, is another Sita. There's a parallel dimension of Sitas, and they branch off depending on how close they are to Sita. So but there is a righteous Sita because Sita must be righteous because she's the wife of the most righteous.
Right. So when she passed through fire, the Maya Sita went in, and then the real Sita came out.
So in other words, there was a Sita that went through some brutality. You're saying
we don't know that. I mean, I don't know that, but maybe because like a year with Rakshashinis,
Mind blown.
This is a concept that even like I just kind of heard a few times and like explained. It was explained to me a few times, but I haven't grasped it as much. Like I couldn't like super explain it.
It sounds very mathematical. You've got a correct path, and then you've got augmented paths, and there's the truth, and then there's like augmentations of the truth. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, we're all augmentations of the truth in a sense. You think, this might be the most dangerous game to play, but hear me out on this, and don't agree with me if you don't. Okay. My thought is this: we're all in the breath of God. We're all in the image of God. Lucifer is the prince of the air. If we are all in the image of God, then we're all avatars of Rama, but we're not correct avatars of Hari. We're actually augmentations all the way down, turtles all the way down until we get to the point where we're actually clear. Actually, the opposite. We're completely ambiguous mud, but the correct light is at the top. And so there's one correct path, and that is Rama, that's Hari, that is Krishna, that is the way to be. And there are other paths which are like, I could have been Krishna. I could have been great. But, I did this thing one time. Or worse, I spent my whole life doing it wrong. So I could never really think great. But I could have been if I just all the way up, tried my best to be turtles all the way up. So it could be that. You could look at it like we're all hyper incarnation. In a sense, you're Sita. In a sense, I'm Sita. But we're the Maya Sita because we're not the correct Sita. I'm sorry. Is Maya Sita the incorrect Sita?
Maya Sita is the Maya, the illusionary. Maya means illusion, so it's illusion. The Sita.
We're the illusion. We're allusion. We're allusions to the correct Sita. Well, you could be the feminine because you can't be God. You can't be married to God. You can't be that. If you are, you're not the husband to God. You're the wife. You're the bride of Christ.
Yeah.
So in a sense, we're all trying to be our best. We're trying to stay chaste, and we're trying to stay married to God, to Krishna, to Rama. But in that process, there is what we can choose to do and what happens to us, which keeps us from being pure. And that purity is represented by the ultimate incarnation. And each generation, it sounds like, I don't know if each generation, but maybe each 1,000 years, something that, I don't know. There could be an avatar.
Yeah, like each yuga.
Yuga. Yeah, Brahman. Yeah, my Brahman. What's up, my
Yeah.
Yugas. All right, this Yuga though. All right. So how long is a Yuga though, right? How long is a Yuga though?
There's like Yugas within Yugas.
Yoga's got the name on the Yugas, and then Badri's got the down level on what's happening with like each Yuga. Like if we have a Yuga and we're trying to follow it, what does it mean when we have multiple Yugas inside of one Badri? Tell me more.
Well, okay, so you can have like one.
Change my clothes real quick.
Like one way I would draw it would be like a infinity sign, right? And then inside the infinity sign, I draw like an infinity sign, and inside. Man, if I had like a way to show you a drawing of like, it would be easier to explain it.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh crap! Freaking stuff falling all over the place.
Yoga, help him draw this paper. We know you. Come on, make sure he's doing it right.
This marker is no good.
There's been moments where Yoga and I have spent chanting together just to get through jobs, just working all day.
Oh, like
I gotta admit. I mean, oh yeah, you know, working all day, old McDonald's style, sure.
Yeah,
that's classified. The mission that our agency sent us on was classified. The point is, we were praying at the time. Okay.
I can't open this.
That's funny. I feel a little bit similar to that day today, actually. I didn't sleep so well last night, and at that day that we were like, we didn't sleep all night.
It was utterly surreal, the moments we shared at that moment. Actually, like when we were doing that, like the chanting, we were like, you know, the only way I can imagine to get through this isn't stimulants or alcohol or anything else. It's just like, do you want to just do the Gayatris, or do you want to do Ekankar, or like which chant mantra is going to get us through the next 6 hours? Okay, wait, Badri's got a drawing. Let's take a second.
It's like a funky little drawing I just made, but you can see how like inside the big circle, there's like 2 little circles. Inside that little circle, there's more little circles.
So you have fractaling Super 8s inside of infinity.
Yeah. It's such a silly drawing, but
no. It's weird because we just started this recording, if you recall, at 0000. It was at midnight, 1 o'clock, whatever the heck it is. But here in Europe, they call it 0000. Which reminds me of like the superstar from the neighborhood in Watseka who has the 888 triple. He's got like 888s on a license plate driving around. Did you see that?
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like 888s and 78s and 88s is basically like the most lucky thing you could have besides like a license plate of zeros, you know. So 8 zeros in infinity.
So basically, there's like 4 major yugas, which can be like the Dark Ages, the Bronze Ages, the Silver Ages, and the Golden Age. And within those 4, they're like little mini ones. So like within a Dark Age, you could have like a brief 10,000 long year period of a Golden Age. But ultimately, it's still a Dark Age until that like bigger yuga ends. But then it's like a short period where it's like a brief enlightenment for a little while, which is what some people would say we're going through right now or approaching, because we are in like Kali Yuga, which is the Dark Age, and so things are supposed to be getting pretty bad, and like it's supposed to go on for like something like somewhere like, I don't know, like another 100,000 years or something like that. It's like a long time to go.
Right,
but,
and years are really weird in terms of in Vedic astronomy. Years are dependent on the sun and which sun it is, and there are different suns for the astronomy. So it could be years in terms of another sun that's been. And this is one of the things that connects to the Nibiru thing. There could be years that are happening simultaneously to the years that are happening slower. You know, like
yeah, it's like all has to do with like how we're moving around in space, right? Like certain star systems or something. Like that's how they figured it out.
Yeah, and the different luminaries, right? Totally.
Yeah.
So this is the 4th, or is that what you're saying? No, there are 4, and this is the 4th, or no?
Yeah, and like this one, I guess after Kali Yuga, does it go to what's it called, Treta Yuga or something? It goes to Satya Yuga.
This is like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when you get to phone a friend. This is so much better. It's great.
I thought it was like from bronze. I mean, like dark to bronze to silver to gold, but Yoga is saying it's like from dark to gold, then down again to silver, to bronze to dark again, then to gold, bronze to that. On repeat.
Who really knows though?
But who really knows?
I mean, right? It's comic books, but it tends to be something that influences our lives. So it's best to know our we're going to bicker about it. We might as well at least point the data out as much as we can.
Right, and they say Kali Yuga, the one we're in,
Kali, the age of the goddess Kali, who likes to wear a bunch of heads around her neck like a.
Not the goddess. It's actually a different entity.
Really? Okay, explain this.
Kali, but Kali. And so Krishna agreed with Kali that he's like a leader of demons, that he gets this age for like a certain amount of time
so
for them.
Is Kali connected to Kali? Are they like?
No, they're different.
Whoa. Okay, explain this because this is gonna blow the minds of most. Who is this leader of demons, and why are they not the goddess? Like, listen.
No, it's a dude. It's a dude entity who is like a leader of demons, and he's given like this yuga, I guess, is like his time to shine.
Wow. Okay, this is intense. So what's up with the paintings of Kali? Why is the CERN? I mean, I don't know if that's the answer for you to answer, but like, why is CERN got Kali in front of it for the Kali Yuga? Why did people mix them up? I mean, I just did.
Yeah, I mean, because it is spelled the same.
Brutal.
One has got a long A and one has a short A. That's like the only difference.
Right. Oh, so it's ah versus ah. Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of
Kali.
You gotta learn Sanskrit. If you don't learn Sanskrit, you're missing out. That's the facts. So
Kali is different.
So what do you know about Kali? The Kali, like the demon king. Do you know much about him?
I don't know so much actually, but all I know is like this is supposed to be his time, and that like it's kind of like his energies are greater during these times because of this. The way, I don't know, something agreed with God, and then after this yuga's done, then they all got to go.
And so there's no connection between. I mean, this is blowing me away. So I'm going to read the wiki paragraph. According to the Hindus, Kali, Divangali, Kali with a short is with both vowels short. It even bothers to say it. From a root kad, meaning to suffer, hurt, startle, and confuse, is the reigning lord of the Kali Yuga and the arch enemy of Kalki. So what about Kalki, the 10th avatar of Vishnu?
Yeah. That's supposed to be the one that hasn't happened yet.
Right? Or is happening now, right? Like, yeah. But yeah, it hasn't happened in the Vedic, yeah.
But I feel like you would know if Vishnu incarnated. It's like that
you might notice. It's like love.
You'd be like, oh, it's God.
Yeah, I mean, some people wanted to say it was Christ, though. The Western religion is that the idea is that Kalki is hidden as Christ. Is Krishna reincarnated as the Lord of Serpents 10 times? So
Krishna also says that even in different parts of the world, he'll incarnate in like different species, even and like in different regions, and like all the time. So there's like other little incarnations that do happen. But like Kalki, I think is a different one that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, because he has to usher in the Satya, and the Satya is not to happen until it's gonna take 1,000,000 years or.
Oh, like we got some time to go.
We got some time. All right. Well, the Jains are all about bringing in the Satya, and this is another thing I wanted to get into. Maybe we should get into this. Is like why you started this conversation with like. What's the one thing I'm proud of? Well, I help people not murder so much. So Sattva versus Rajestic. What is sattvic? What is sattva? What is sattva?
Purity. Like goodness, righteousness.
Man, you're so quick with one word. The one word answer to sattva is now. I need more. So this is the thing. How do you stay sattva? That's the problem. Sattva is the roughest one, man. It's the thing you gotta do. You're like, no, that's how you are. It's easy.
To say sattvic, regulation, you know, there's like these 4 regulatory principles. There's no, you know, that's one way. There's no meat eating. There's no illicit sex. There's no gambling, and there's no intoxication. And if you like avoid those things, then you're gonna put yourself in that mode of goodness.
No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication.
Yeah.
I hear. Wait, is Yoga trying to? He's like, Meh, there's more to this. What do you? What?
I'm saying you have to take showers.
Oh, you gotta wash. I know.
I didn't talking crap because I didn't shower today. No,
I was thinking the same thing. Sorry. It's wet and humid and warm.
One of those
days
days
in Hollywood. You know, we're in warm places. Come on.
Summertime, it's warm. I might go jump in the ocean later.
I always keep a silk handkerchief just so I can just feel classy when I don't wash my sweat off early enough for yoga. Okay. Well, okay. So I'm sorry. So sattvic is really important because it's like the difference between being rajasic and sattvic. What does it mean to be rajasic then?
Rajasic means mode of passion. That is you know, if you eat things that are like things like onions or like a rajasic food. It's like an example. Like
you're so pure, man. You're so pure. There are more rajasic things out there. Heroin, I was yeah, no, that's true. It's true. Murdering a bulb is actually a rajasic thing. That's correct.
But then there's tamasic too, which is the mode of ignorance. So I would maybe think that heroin might be tamasic, not rajasic.
That's fair.
Ignorance. It's like in darkness.
So drugs, though, some drugs actually can be considered rajasic, and others can be tamasic because some of them are actually to dull your senses. It's true. Others are to increase your senses or to increase what happens to your senses, to scratch your senses in a sense.
Like maybe crystal meth versus coffee. Coffee could be seen as rajasic, but crystal meth is like for sure tamasic.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know. As much as I've not done crystal meth, I think that's it's science. It's science. It's science, Brahman. You know? Yeah.
Right. I mean, I learned a lot about drugs in my lifetime.
Yeah, you went to the University of Santa Barbara. I remember walking through there. Man, that would have been intense for a Brahmin. I mean, gosh, to see all these kids on the side of the road getting arrested, drunk because they were.
I was one of those kids.
Yeah. Brutal. Yeah. I'm glad that you got in and out of it fast because it's a dangerous place to be, man. You know. So it's cool though because you came at it with that perspective. Okay, so while you were having that happen to you, you were looking at all the stuff and you're choosing your choices. What did you think you were doing? Did you think you were being homistic? Did you think you were being rajasic? Do you think that was better than being sattvic? What the heck were you doing?
Like that's like why addiction is like. It's like more powerful than I am. That's something I had to realize was like my addictions were, because I knew that you're not supposed to drink.
Right. It wasn't even an addiction yet. It was a choice. Why did you choose it?
In my thinking, it was like I made it seem like it was okay. I justified it within my own mind.
Oh, so but did you ever feel that there was a difference between being sattvic and rajasic, and that blew your mind somehow, your body, that you were not?
Like I grew up with those concepts, but during that time of my life, it was kind of ignored. But when I became sober, those concepts actually really helped me to, like, just being reminded of it, reading the Bhagavad Gita again, and being reminded of all those things helped me to get back into a sober frame of thought and like remain in it.
So why is it preferable to be hallucinating on the sober plane of existence, if that's what the Kali Yuga is, right? It's a major material demonic hallucination on top of a sattva. Why does it help to be sattvic? Why does it help to be pure then? Is that like a thing that matters?
I mean, I think like you want to cultivate awareness and self-control, and when you lose those things, you lose control of yourself, and you fall down into like these hellish realms, even while like being on Earth, you know. And you can either be in like those sattvic realms, or you could be in those like tamasic realms, all while in this birth. Like spiritually, you can really lower your consciousness. Like your consciousness could be vibrating at these like lower levels if you're like doing these things that's not like sattvic and like keeping your mind in control. And then like when you start losing that like that control of your own actions, you really fall down into this pit, man, and it's like not a fun place to be for anyone, really, you know.
And in this, are there other places for being majestic or Thomistic? Like, are there places that makes a righteous dharma? Or is there a way to live your life that you ought to be? Like the Sikhs tend to be very majestic. Is that acceptable? Is that correct for them?
Yeah, it is, because I mean, yeah, like most people are rajasic, and that's not really bad. So you just don't want to be in the mode of ignorance. That's like maybe the main thing. You don't want to be in the mode of darkness.
Isn't Talmudic to be in the mode of darkness? Is it?
Mode of goodness, of like purity, because mode of passion, it can lead to things like, you know, maybe violence or like anger, and then like short-sightedness, and that's like in rajasic.
What about Talmudic? Is Talmudic a place that there's unique? I can't think of a culture that ought to be Talmudic, but is there one? Is there a way to be? Is there a caste of Talmudics that ought to be?
Tamasic is like just, I would say like people that are like have gotten themselves there. Like I could have maybe considered myself being in that mode before, like when I was drinking heavily and like living my lifestyle like with blindfold on, and like, you know, just seeking to please my senses at all times, and you know, just trying to like satisfy my like what is the word, um like material desires. I couldn't think of the actual word.
Your senses, yeah, your material senses, but that's another thing.
Relating to the flesh.
That's the thing that blows my mind, though, because there's like, if you're someone who is that sattvic, it might be kind of interesting for a second to like check all things, and your first thing is to check the majestic lifestyle. But if you're not trained to be a warrior, you're trained to be a priest, then your next thing is to this Talmudic, because your Talmudic is to sedate and to bring it down and make it more comfortable so you don't have to listen. So you're deafening yourself to God's praises. You're deafening yourself to what God wants of you. Is there a reason for that? Is that like how someone's supposed to live, you think? Like in terms of Dharma?
I don't know. I think it's like living in the mode of ignorance is like leads to things like depression and, you know, like suicidal stuff. Just bad things, you know.
So you ended up deciding it wasn't for you, and
I didn't even make the decision. It was like brought upon me from a power greater than myself. But I had
that's a good answer.
I had the desire to quit drinking, but it wasn't that easy. You know, like I didn't, after a while I didn't know how to stop. I couldn't figure out how am I gonna stop drinking. Like
Totally.
I kind of wanted to, but it seemed impossible.
Yeah,
like
it's the worst. Cigarettes and alcohol, of course, the most legal drugs, are the worst and hardest to quit.
Yeah, like when you're drinking every day and like all of a sudden you're like, how am I gonna stop? Is it even possible? Like it's just so normal to me at this point. And then so, a
Yeah,
lot of
it's totally accepted. You're like, okay, heroin's bad. Heroin seems terrible. Cigarettes are so much harder to quit than heroin. From everyone I've ever met who's ever done either, they'll tell you cigarettes are insanely hard to quit, but they push them on you. And they make them seem like little white lies that are acceptable. Same with alcohol. Alcohol's like, oh, well, what do people say? I only drink socially. What
right.
does that even mean? Okay, so you're basically spreading alcoholism to your friends. I mean, it's like, is that the way you're supposed to do it?
To me, drinking socially meant drinking with homeless people that I'd meet on the street. Like this is social.
Yeah, no. There are cool. That's the funniest part about the Hare Krishnas in LA, man. Like they'll meet cool people and they'll be down. They'll talk with people and be down. It's only when they ask them to accept their demons that I start to get worried because they're like, no, I should probably hold this back a bit. But Hare Krishnas will meet homeless people more than most people I've ever met. They'll do it by handing out vegan food on the street. I mean, like, I'm super grateful to your family for even including me on that. You guys do that. You guys go to Venice Beach and just hand out food, like and just sattvic food. It's not super spiced and doesn't have too many nightshades. It's like pretty much like the best Janus meal you could ever get. And you're lucky if you're homeless because you're going to be the one few person that actually gets an opportunity to have a meal with the Hare Krishnas in LA. But it's true, like, it's a difference between, alcoholism and then cigarettes and all these drugs is, you follow your flow. But why do you feel like, or okay, let's put it this way, like, you said you had a lot of problems when you started following that path, the same path that people who follow that path became homeless on, and lost their future on. You've now switched that path back to being more sattvic, to trying to be more pure.
Yeah.
And what are some of the consequences you've had from following that path instead? Is it helping you at all?
There are none. There's just challenges because we're humans. We're built with so many flaws, and it's so hard to be perfect, and it's impossible, actually, I think. But I mean, that's what makes the spiritual path what it is that striving towards to try to be better every day and to try to like fix those shortcomings we have. Like even now being sober, I still have a lot of things I could continue to improve on and like to be more in the mode of sattva. Like I wake up in the like sometimes in the afternoon, and that's not very sattvic. Like you want to wake up with the sunrise.
Yeah.
And that's something I've got to work on.
That's a rough one for me too. I've noticed the 3:30 in the morning sadhana, doing 108 gotris at 3:30 in the morning are easy to do on the street on your way home than they are in the morning when you're waking up. But it's still important, like you got to do them. But yeah, no, I hear you. It's brutal.
It's not easy, but like it's like just having that path to strive towards. It's like definitely a positive thing.
So what about, okay, I just brought up mantras. I'm not sure if you want to go. Do you do mantras anymore? Are you into that?
I do. I do. Recently, I've been doing the Gayatri. And,
Om Bharda Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Deyo Prachodayat. I like that one. It's a pretty good one. Your mom told me that one. I like it a lot.
It's a good one. I also do the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I do that like pretty frequently, and I also chant Narayana, Narayana, Om Namo Narayana, and there are a few other ones that I'll do sometimes. They're a little longer, but yeah, there's always some mantra I'm trying to meditate on, but with the Gayatri, I'm trying to work on I just like kind of random, just like bring it up out of nowhere. But
Do it.
do you know Nofap?
Nofap.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean yeah. Nofap. Yeah.
there's this movement online, Reddit,
Yeah.
subreddit.
Actually, let's explain this to people that are 40. How would you describe this? Turn away from pornography. It's a waste of your time, and it's coupled in your brain. Okay.
Yep.
So let's go back to NoFap. Anyway, keep going.
So that's what it is. It's a movement to like free yourself from pornography. And as a teenager, I struggled with that, and so now doing NoFap, it's like been an interesting journey, like trying to like get that down because I still haven't mastered it yet. Like I'm trying to like get to never fap instead of NoFap. Never fap.
Right. Totally. I mean, do be real, dude. Like it's a huge human problem. Come on. I'm lucky I'm now in a relationship because otherwise I would be dead. It's so brutal. But it's like it's so important, you know? It's hard.
Yeah. So something I'm not in a relationship, so I have to find ways to like transmute that energy. And so I was chanting the Gayatri to try to transmute the energy, like using the mantra and like imagining it going from like my root up to like my crown chakra, and like just like going through my whole body and like just like shooting out through my head or something. And sometimes when I did it, it really worked, and I would feel like the urge or whatever was gone after that, and then I could like sleep easy, wake up, and then I'll have more energy when I woke up because I was able to like transmute that energy and that urge into something like positive and pure.
So you've been doing the Gayatris, the 108 Gayatris in order to get out of that crown space, let's call it, or Kundalini space, I guess you could say. That's interesting because I did the same thing for years, but instead of, I found that I had problems when I pulled it out of my crown chakra. I would end up being, I mean, the kind of guy that walks under what's Seika Boulevard in leopard underpants. Your crown chakra is too big. It's like ejaculating your entire soul all over the neighborhood. It's not acceptable. So what I tried to do is keep my soul in a place. Like I try to imagine it going into my wrists so I could write. Because I like to write. I'm a screenwriter in Hollywood. I was like, okay, I'll write some stories. But the thing is, if you choose where in your body it goes to, you can contain it in those places using the Gayatri mantras. You can.
That's interesting.
I mean, I found that to be a tip. And again, it's a Gayatri your mother taught me, so I feel like it's a free lesson. But also at the same time, like, what do you feel like? Okay, so I'm trying to explain this to the people that don't get it. I feel like you get it too harsh to like explain it in simple words, but tell me if you can do this. Like, how do I tell people that don't understand why it makes sense to make good decisions? Like, what's the point of making good decisions, and what are the consequences of them, and why do you do these things? Why are you bothering to do the mantras? And what consequences come from aligning your body, making these sounds in order to, with your body, you're aligning your body and you're putting the energy with your mind, like organite, bring energy into this right moment in place during the Kali Yuga. Why do you do that? And what happens when you don't? And why do you do what you do? Why are you trying when you hear me? You're like, okay, well, this is a good way to do things. Like, why are we trying to do the consciousness thing? Is it real? Can it affect your day? Have you noticed any evidence of that?
Right, like especially if you're like living your life in a way where you're feeling like you need to change something, like that, at least I was, and then starting to like do these mantras and like take more control of my life, then I'm like I feel the results, and I can like go through my day just like on a higher vibration. And like the results is like kind of what gets you to continue it. You're like, you just pay attention to how you feel after you do these things, and you're like, wow, that actually made me feel better. And like, yeah, like the other day I was like outside and I just felt like so much more social. That was like one of the, I feel like the side effects. I was like more talkative, and like I was like, wow, this is good, and it was just like natural and like more positive overall. And
So
like,
yeah,
oh sorry, there's this quote in the Gita. It's like I'm paraphrasing it, but it's Krishna says to Arjuna like, what seems to be nectar at first could end up becoming poison in the end, and what seems like poison at first could end up being nectar. So that's kind of like the mentality of like having that like mindset to do those things that seem difficult, but like the things that's like instant gratification ends up being bad for you in the end.
so in choices, you're choosing to put your energy towards things you feel are righteous. And when you choose what's righteous, it's outside of yourself. What can you say about righteousness versus self choice? It's different. Like why not just be a Satanist? Why try to follow in the footsteps of the Hari movement, of the Hari um, embodiment incarnation? Like what's the reason? Yeah.
Because karma, like that's like karma is a very real thing to me. Like if I went out of my way and like started doing things that's like, like all different like that, I would get karma for that.
I
Things
hate to
will
do it
happen.
because it's so obvious to like everybody but maybe 70 million people or 6 billion people on the planet. What is karma and dharma? Let's start with karma. What is karma?
Karma is action. Karma is like what you do. It's like you could think about it like scientifically, like Sir Isaac Newton talks about, like, every, is that Sir Isaac Newton? I might even be wrong. Didn't sound dumb, but like no,
Oh,
but
he actually talked about karma. Can confirm. Go ahead.
karma is like basically every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So it's like the same with karma. Everything you do has a result. Like everything. And it's like naturally, that's just how it is. Like every action, reaction. So all your actions and reactions are your karma.
Yeah, actually, Isaac Newton based his entire theory. That's why I was just so excited when you said that on karma, because you have 3 or 7. You have equal and opposite reaction. Sorry, excuse me, but there is a bit when you read between the lines. With Isaac Newton, and then also there's the idea of sevens. Because all good things come in threes, but if you made the intention to do something, there's a 7 rule, right? Because there's also the 4. I think yoga might know some stuff about that, but there's a 7 rule. If you are intentionally and you're aware of karma, it's more than 3, so it's 7. So karma tends to be a consequential thing, but when you choose to follow these rules and you get these karmatic reactions, have you experienced? How do we do this? Have you experienced karma? Like, what would you, like, how would you explain? Like, what's a good example of an experience of karma that you're willing to share?
I experience karma every day, man.
Word.
I'm pretty injury prone, and I always think like the reason that is because it's like I'm getting karma for things that I've done. Like I messed up my face. Like I fell. That's why my face right here. I have a scar right here, busted my nose open, and my
Brutal.
forehead. I have
Skateboarding?
like scars. Yeah, skateboarding.
Brutal.
But anytime something like that happens, it's beyond my control. I think like that was like a karmic reaction to something, and now I've got to fix something that I'm doing.
Totally.
Like a more specific example. This is, you can judge me if you want. No, like for a mess up.
I do on opposite Thursdays. Don't worry.
Okay, so when I used to drink a lot and I had my own apartment, living by myself in Santa Barbara, and I was thinking in my mind, like, I was raised vegetarian, I've never eaten meat, and I was just thinking about all this stuff about like power and stuff like that. I don't know, and I basically like, it was weird how I got to it, but I decided I wanted to try eating meat, like out of nowhere, when I was like 23 years old.
Oh snap!
Yeah, for the first time in my life, I was like, I'm gonna try meat,
And
like
1,000 buffaloes fell down dead.
right. And I was like, and then I'm gonna like basically like you know, open myself up to this whole part of the world that I've been shutting myself off from my whole life, living like being vegetarian forever. Like now I'll get to try to eat anything I wanted, and like
anything you wanted. Frozen
like,
chicken nuggets, frozen fish
totally,
sticks,
yeah,
frozen
just forget
McDonald's hamburgers.
Yeah, and like in my mind, I forget that karma is a thing. You know, I'm like, that I'm not gonna get karma for this. Like, didn't even occur to me like karma anything. And then so I try it for like 3 days, and on the third day, I feel like I'm sinning as I'm doing it. Like I'm like knowingly sinning, and like because I'm raised in this family, I have like everyone has unique karma too. You know, like someone else who would eat those same things I did might not get the same karmic reaction because they're not me. But like me,
Yeah, you're getting it in ×7 instead of ×3. Yours is extremely.
Right. So I'm eating this food and I'm like, yeah, man. But I was like even underwhelmed, like eating meat for the first time in my life. I was like, it wasn't even that good. Like, I'll be honest with you. I was like
dry and chewy.
I was like so underwhelmed. I was like, this is what people are crazy about.
Like, you've had so many better things than
right?
because they can't have those
food.
things.
Honestly, is so much better. Like, but I was like trying it, and I was like, it's all right, I guess. And then I'm like delivering food, and I go on the street, and I'm driving, and I'm going on the highway, and I have like this food I'm delivering. I was a food delivery person. I had just eaten some like chicken at a restaurant.
What kind of delivery were you delivering for? Sounds not important, but it might be.
SB menus. It's just like different restaurants. It was like
brutal.
Some Korean beef meal that I was making.
Korean beef, brutal.
It is called. And I was like on the highway, and I'm driving, and then this car just
wait. You were driving, and you decided to pull open the meat and eat.
No, not that one. No. I ate something else right before heading out on the street.
Okay.
I already finished eating, and now I'm driving to go deliver that meal. And then as I'm on the highway, I'm like listening to like rap music, and I'm just like, yeah, man, you know, like thinking in my head, like I can't wait after work. I'm gonna go party it out, and I'm gonna blah blah blah, and I'm gonna figure out I'm gonna get these girls, and you know, be a player. I'm gonna eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, and do all the drugs. I don't care, you know, like that was like my mind. And then I'm like driving, and then out of nowhere, this car. I just see these headlights coming right towards me. Like this car was in the oncoming lane of traffic, driving straight towards me. And in that moment, like I experienced something spiritual for sure. I was like, "Oh fuck, I might die in like a millisecond," because you know it's like you're driving towards each other on the highway. Things are going fast.
you know how they say head towards the light. Don't listen to them. Okay.
No, I turned to the side. I just like went to the because there's only 2 lanes.
Head towards the darkness.
So I was like, like trying to go into the side to dodge the car. I couldn't quite dodge it. It hits the back of my car. I spin out into the side of the highway. I'm like spinning in the car, like holy shit. And like I was just so lucky that I didn't get hurt. But I knew instantly, like I was angry at first. I was like, what's wrong with this person? That was my first reaction. I jumped out.
What's wrong with these people? Right? What's wrong with the people that made this happen? Uh-oh.
They drove on the wrong side of the road. Like you can't be driving on oncoming traffic like that. Like could have killed us. So I got so mad. And I jumped out of the car and I was like, hey! And like ran over there angry as like the angriest I've ever been. Because like I felt like I almost died, and like it was all that person's fault for driving on oncoming traffic. And like so I didn't realize the karma in the situation yet. And then I'm like, I go up, and then I just see this girl like crying, and I'm like, the fuck? I was like, yo, what's wrong with you? You almost killed her. And she's like, oh, my grandma just died, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? It was just like the weirdest situation.
Whoa.
there's like this crying girl talking about like freaking out about her grandma, and I'm just like, I guess that when I saw that, it made me like a little bit less angry, but I was like still like upset. And so I get her insurance information, and then the whole thing like did not go in my favor, you know, like even though it wasn't my fault, like that's how karma could work sometimes. It's just kind of like, haha, like now you don't have a car. And I lost that apartment I had. I lost that job, and then I got sued for $4,500.
By her?
So,
by her family?
Oh no, I got sued by someone else. I should have sued her, but I couldn't get a hold of her, and like I feel like that's like it was all like karma working in that situation. They said like, karma could be.
You know, sometimes you need to let Andreas help you when karma doesn't. I'm so angry now.
She basically. She didn't have insurance, and then she dodged me. Like I couldn't get a hold of her. I couldn't. Not
an excuse for Andreas. I'm sorry.
And so I just lost the car, dude. And since I like didn't have my car, I didn't have a ability to pay my rent. And since I couldn't pay my rent, the person I was subleasing from, they're the ones who sued me for $4,500.
What? Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're you know what you said about karma earlier, tit for tat, easy come, easy go. All good things come in 3, all bad things come in 7. That's brutal. Huh. That's just think about the price of that cost and compare it time to divide it by 7 and figure out how much energy you put into that meal or that gasoline or something, and you'll find the number.
Right. And like now I'm in debt still, and like I take that as being me paying off my karma. I'm basically like now I have to pay it off, and I have to work towards that to like come back to like a it's like I think of it like a bank balance. Like my karma's in the negative, I gotta bring it back to like at least neutral.
Right. Yeah. You have to get the bath water to stop. The bath water has to stop weighing until it gets flat. You don't want to lose all the bath water in the process. You want it to balance out, or else you know. Gosh, so where do you feel on that? How close do you feel to being balanced?
I've done like a little bit of a dent on that karma. Like I paid about 2,000 of the 4,000, so like halfway. I still got a ways to go.
How do you feel psychologically and spiritually on that in terms of your balance personally? Do you feel like you're
now I'm a vegan. I'm a strict vegan now, where in that moment I was like, I'll eat anything for those 3 days. It lasted 3 days. And like when I was at home later that day, I was drinking again because I lost my car, and like I would drink for anything. So that was like the ultimate excuse to like drink more. And I'm drinking like absinthe. I got like some really heavy stuff. And I'm in my apartment by myself getting really loaded and drunk. And then I just like got like this like meditation. It was like someone, like a guru, I don't know who my guru is, but whoever it was entered my mind right then and was like telling me like, you ate all these things in these 3 days. Tomorrow I'm gonna send you a pig, basically. And I was like, what does that mean? And then the next day with my little brother, I meet one of his friends.
Govinda?
And yeah, we're all getting a ride to LA. I'm riding with them. And I almost get in a fight with his friend whose name is like Pumbaa. That's his friend's name.
Pumbaa and Govinda. Oh my God, I remember Pumbaa.
So that was just like trippy to me, that like in my mind, like I hear my guru saying like you know, like in a scolding type of way, like, you know, like you did bad, so I'm gonna send you like something, like it's like your karma's coming, you know. Totally. And so we'll almost get in a fight with this kid, and he like is about to beat me up, and he rips off my gold chain that I had since I was 12 years old. Whoa. And like my gold chain gets ripped and falls off, and I felt like that was like a dethroning type of moment for me. Like I lost like a sense of my purity, and I was like, wow, I really wronged in that act. And then after that, we're about to fight on the highway. Some guy pulls over, he comes out his car, and he's like, yo, brothers, y'all don't need to be doing this right now. He's like, especially looking like y'all do out here, because like we're both like, you know, colored or whatever, and then we're like on our way back from Santa Barbara on the side of the highway. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty colored, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the sun, I get pretty. I'll keep going.
I mean, yeah, my dad's like technically like white, but I came out pretty brown. But
you did a good job, don't you worry.
But so
by the way, I can't help it. It's too late. I have to do it. You know, if you guys want to see his dad and mom, like some of my favorite people, you don't have to go too far. Just watch Grandma's Boy, because they're casting directors and they're in that scene where they're at the Hindu restaurant table. I remember when I was with my whole family, about 20 of them, and we were watching Grandma's Boy, and I lived in my grandmother's house at the time, and they were all like, "You're crazy." And then I was watching this movie, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, not only am I crazy, but I know the people in the movie you guys went to tonight." So ha ha ha. Like, yeah, they're available. You can find them. Also, how I saw Sabri the first time. I saw Sabri years before I met him because he was in that commercial for the Gundam. Yeah, the Gundam. Yeah, and your parents wouldn't let him buy the Gundam, and I actually, hey Tulsi, how's it going? Oh my gosh, there you go. There.
That's
Hare Krishna, Tulsi.
Very well.
Very grateful. We're very grateful for your family and very grateful for your help.
How are your parents?
We're doing our best to make a video about sattva and about purity. And your son just brought up Varaha. Well, he brought up Pumbaa.
It's amazing that you saw that connection without me saying it. But cool.
Oh, Tulsi, I love you so much. God bless you. You're like such an important human being. You're the best. God bless your father. I love your family so much, man. You have no idea.
Cool.
But yeah, sorry, you were talking about Pumbaa, and I was thinking about Varaha because you mentioned Vishnu.
Exactly. I actually drew Varaha in my notebook that day. That night.
For those who don't see what's coming, because we're too excited, we're both like, he had a dream about Pumbaa.
It's like an incarnation of Varaha, like giving me karma, basically.
Yeah. Like Varaha is the avatar of Vishnu, and he had mentioned earlier how Vishnu takes forms for other beings, right? Varaha is the pig version of Vishnu. The boar, and you know what she does? Or sorry, you know what he does? He rescues her, the goddess Earth. That's like his big stories. He saves the goddess Earth. I mean, like, take that for your Sita myth. Like, wow.
Yeah, my brother had a painting of Varaha. It's right there. It's hard to see, but like that's it. He made Varaha, and it has like the Earth on his husks. Is that what's called? Tusk? Something like that.
Totally. The ivory tusks of the, and all, they're similar to toenails and tusks. And I just was reading this Wikipedia in verses of the Gita 188. It refers to wild boar, which means rain cloud, and is symbolic in some hymns to do with the storm. So the storm and the bringer are good things out of the storm, because there's a storm and there's a good thing. I mean, it's pretty amazing, of all things, man. Varaha and Pumbaa, right? Whoa.
And so my gold chain gets ripped off. This guy comes up. He tells us not to fight, and he mentions that he works for a company called Karma. And then that just like blew my mind a little bit.
He works for a company called Karma? God likes to joke really well.
He does. He has a sense of humor for sure. And like, if just to like not like, just to fully like get the point across, like, this is your karma. Like,
yeah. Like, am I beating you with a dead horse enough, or do I need a dead horse?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I got it. This is okay. And then
okay, you got me. That's how I felt when I met you. That's literally how I felt. Okay, I'm naked in Hollywood. You got me. You got me. I'll stop.
I'll behave myself now. But so I stopped the meat eating at that point, but I was still intoxicating. And so there was another wave of karma for the intoxication, which was county jail and going through another wave of court systems and lawyer fees and all this nonsense, and going through this heavy guilt I felt for what I did and being in jail. And like, that was like for the intoxication for me. And like, that's what all that happens for a reason. Like, that's what karma is to me. It's like my actions dictated those results.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to like push Sabri's story, but like as I was friends before I knew you, it's like pretty similar in a weirder way, you know, because he went from having like good karma because he was behaving himself for a minute, and he had an Audi, and then he went from having an Audi to being like, you screwed the heck up, and you got, I love Sabri, but you know what I mean. And then now he's back balanced a bit, you know. But like it's a very similar thing once you know what's happening. I mean, I have karma now because of this situation instantaneously. It's like I don't have time to forget what happened before karma strikes. And it's so strong, you know, and you just I mean, so there's, you know, a lot of people don't like to believe in things. Well, like, you know, then don't mess with karma because karma will make you believe. It'll consequences happen. You know?
Especially something like that for me, like being vegetarian my whole life and going so against my whole parents' teachings and everything. That was like the most obvious karma that I've ever had, where it was like in my face karma. Right. And then I knew, I was like, okay, got it.
Well, okay. I mean, this is a great icebreaker in terms of introducing you, introducing the Veda. There are some things I want to ask you still, if you're not exhausted. One last question, basically, or like line of questions, which is about the difference between Aryan and Tamil, and then I'll let you relax for a bit. 'Cause it's pretty late. What could you say about who you are in terms of your mother, in terms of the Tamil tradition, and why is that different than, you know, why is Southern Indian Tamil tradition different from Aryan Sanskrit, North India? Like, what's going on with that, you know?
Right. Something that my mom tells me, which kind of confuses me, but I just go with it. She says that like the Tamil is actually the language of the Rakshasas. So I was like, what? That's kind of weird. But
Wait. Well, who are the Rakshasas? You know, come on. For those who don't know, what? No one knows anything. Come on, yeah, tell them all of it.
So like, does that mean that like, I don't know, I don't get it really, but I don't know, but basically like Kumari Kandam, Lemuria, the continent that was sunken, that was like
Lemuria, yeah.
Between Madagascar, Sri Lanka, and like Indonesia or whatever.
Which we've utterly proved exists now. And some people call it the Mu, because Le is al in Arabic, and Laos and Le in French is for the. So the Muria, the Ria, the river, the areas of water around Mu. So the, you know, Rakshasa, you know, tends to be connected to the Lemuria, which, you know, everyone nowadays get Madame Blavatsky. So it's pretty much, that's, you just hit a word finally. This is the first word you've said that I think anyone might have heard.
Yeah. And so the people there probably spoke Tamil, like living on that continent.
The first language before Atlantis. Yeah. Tamil.
So that's why it's like a very old language. But then they're like, that's what connects, like how you could find phonetic similarities between the languages that are even spoken today in like Madagascar, Aboriginal Australians, and South India.
What about how different is Sanskrit, let's say, from Tamil? Is it close at all?
There are a lot of similarities. Like when I read the Gita, for example, in Sanskrit, because I know Tamil fluently, there are words that I'll just know already because there are words in Tamil also.
What about grammar wise? Is it very, very different? Is there a lot of differences, you know, between, like, what are the main differences that really stand out to you that say this is a completely different thing?
Well, the way the letters look is like pretty much completely different written.
And sound wise too. I mean, they're in a whole different set of vowels even, you know?
Yeah. And the way it's spoken sounds different. Apart from the words that are similar, but they're similar because the interactions that they had.
Totally. Yeah, at some point, Tamil evolved out of the Dravidian language. There's a whole thing on Finnish is not from Sanskrit. Turkish is not from Sanskrit, but Finnish seems really a lot closer to Tamil, which is really interesting because there's 26 cases. It's the hardest language, except for maybe Tamil, you know?
Interesting. There's also a tribe in Cameroon that speaks a version of Tamil, which
really Cameroon, Africa, the giant shrimp ones.
Central Africa. It's like super random. Like, how did that even happen? And they're like tribal type of people, so it's like surprising that they have that language there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video on it. This guy makes a video. He finds out that they speak this just from watching a documentary that's unrelated to speaking Tamil. It's just a documentary about Cameroonians. But then if you're a Tamil speaker and you're listening to the background of what they're saying while this documentary is going on, there's like a kid. He's like runs and he goes to his brother. He's like, "Anna, you the end of it," and he says something like that. And if you're like speak Tamil, like you instantly know what that means, and you're like, "Whoa, that kid just spoke Tamil." And he's a Cameroonian African kid, but I understood what he was saying.
Absolutely. And also, you know, I remember Govinda showed that you guys found out that you were Berbers, you know, from your genetic line from your father's side. So in Africa, there is evidence of an into Africa theory, you know, where people went to the Cameroon. And so there's a connection between India and Sri Lanka and the Tamil people. I mean, it blows my mind, you know, more and more.
I mean, like the Berber were seen like known as nomadic people, nomadic desert people. So like they must have come from somewhere. So maybe that place was India.
But, you know, of course, because your father's Berber, he's considered white, you know, according to the rules, you know.
Yeah, but it can also be traced to Yemen, like some of the Berber, I think their travelings, like their like origin from Yemen, which is fairly close to India also.
I mean, I just found an interesting thing earlier. We're talking about Sumeria and Sumer and the Yazidi of Iran, and the Yazidi worship the peacock. So a number of Dravidian loanwords which appear in the Rig Veda and are in Indo-Aryan Sanskrit as well as in Tamil. One of the earlier connections is the word Tukiyam, and Tukiyam is from Tamil, from Tukai, if you recall, which is the tail of a bird or tail of a peacock. And so the tail of the peacock is very important. Tukai ends up being Erythrai or something like that in Greek. And then that becomes a root to Slavic and to Russian and to Croatian and then to English. And so all of these things that, you know, because when I was a kid, they're like, you gotta learn Sanskrit. My dad said this, you gotta learn Sanskrit. Now, if I had just had a little bit more time to make a choice, and now that I'm something gonna advocate, I'm gonna make sure they learn some more Tamil. Because
learn all the languages you can, and you can see how they're like related.
Good answer. You know,
Sanskrit, maybe even some Telugu. I don't know, but
well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of evidence that the Tamil language and the Tamil grammar has a lot more to do with awareness of class and not in castes, but just in terms of the differences between dharmas. Which is the weirdest thing about Finnish in itself is that it gets all of these dharmatic cases, because you wouldn't expect Finns to have dharmatic cases. Maybe, I don't know if you would, but I didn't know this about them. And the fact that it comes from Tamil is a mind blower, because Tamil, of course, is, you know, you mentioned a musical culture similar to parts of Middle Africa like Botswana and Cameroon. There are people that are the musical kohai, which you consider, you know, the musical priesthoods. So that's one last thing I want to get into, like in terms of Tamil, in terms of religion, in terms of music. Like, why is music so important? You know, what is, in terms of mantras you sing them? Like, what's the deal with music? And
from what I learned from my dad from a young age was that I also kind of realized this on my own as I was getting older, was basically everything is like vibration and sound, like in the universe. And like all of this is like, that's why music is so important, because it's like creates that divine sound, and we have to like kind of cultivate that. And that's why chanting mantras has power to it too, because that's also sound vibration. I think that's why music is so important, because it's like everything is sound. I don't know. I feel like I didn't do justice in explaining it properly.
No, I hear you, man. I've been hoping that someone could ever explain that to all my friends for years. That's a hard one. Music is rough, and like the tuning fork, and like the fact you have to tune the Sita as you play it. There's something brutal about music and why it has to be right. But everyone knows it. If it's out of tune, you just can tell. So there's something to do with octaves. There's something to do with frequency and fractions of the frequency. And I don't know if I have the answer, but all I know is that when it's wrong, it affects you. And when it's right, it moves you. I mean, I've noticed that, but I don't know if I have the answer either. Music seems to be the mantra, like it seems to be the technology,
Yeah, the vibration, like holy vibration. It's like a good vibe.
Good vibes, man. I say that in Spanish all the time. Like, bueno onda, good vibes, good onda, good vibrations.
Yeah,
it's like my most thing. Well, okay. I mean, I feel like this is an amazing thing that you've done, and I really am grateful to you. If there's anything else that we want to cover, like this is the time. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to cover before we close this?
That was like just one random thing I had thought of.
Perfect. Do it now. This is it. I love random.
It's totally random. But it has to do with the Asiatic language family, like the word mana, which is used in like the language families of like Indonesia to like maybe even Philippines and like this whole area, and I think Madagascar as well. And so mana is like this word that means like power. Are you familiar with the word mana?
Absolutely. I mean, when I think about mana, okay, so first off, like, in terms of mana, like there's like a number of ways of looking at mana, but like the Christian origin of the word, or the Judeo-Christian origin of the word, is a bit different from the Sanskrit word. You might think of it in terms of an Austronesian or a Sanskrit term to mean effectiveness, right? You might think of it like effectiveness, because you're like, it's not just power. Because I might, Mickey Mouse in The Sorcerer's Apprentice has power. It's effectiveness. It's like, I've meant to do this. It will happen. You must rely on trust that Rama will succeed at their vision. That's mana. As far as I understand, it's effectiveness of potency. But if you were to look at it from a Christian point of view, which is a little different, what it is it's the thing that you can rely on. So there's the God's version, which is the effectiveness of your own beliefs accumulated and achieved. But for Judeo-Christian, Islamic, Western, Occidental religion, mana is actually referred to when Moses refuses to follow the commandments properly, and the people can't go they're supposed to go across the desert, and there's a path that they can follow. I don't know if you've seen the meme, but from the Holy Land to Egypt is 6 days on Google Maps. So the fact that it took 40 years, the joke is, why couldn't Moses roll down the window and ask for directions? He's just too much of a dude, But like the truth is, you messed up. He was like ineffective. He lacked mana, right? And he had power because God gave him power. God made it possible for him to open the seas. You've ever seen Charlton Heston open the seas? It's very impressive. They walk across the Red Sea, and then the Egyptians come and they don't, and they get swallowed by that. But they come to the Holy Land early. That's the thing they leave out. Like, they get to the 40 years part later. First, they come to the Holy Land and they see a bunch of giants. And the giants are Aryan, noble-like beings. They're not necessarily evil. They're just really big, and it's overwhelming for them because they lack effectiveness. They're unable to achieve their own goals, and their goals might not even be righteous, and that might be part of the problem. So what ends up happening is God makes them walk around for a while in circles for 40 years. But what does God give them in the desert to survive? Because it's so deserted. There's not a lot of life. Manna. Manna comes from God. Manna comes from the sky. Manna descends upon the heavens, from the heavens upon the land. And they eat nothing but manna for 40 years. And from that, they're pure enough to enter the kingdom of heaven. You know, and Moses never will be, because his life was already out of whack. So it becomes Joseph, and then, you know, there's other people that can carry on the thing. But manna becomes the effectiveness. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it's a weird thing, because also manna becomes really like, it's not just an African or an Egyptian or a Sumerian or an American. Like, manna comes up a lot. You know, it's a word that they're using. You know, Aboriginal Australians talk about manna.
Yeah.
So it's in everybody's culture. So it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Just kidding.
But yeah, man, that was just something I wanted to maybe think about, because I was gonna try to make a connection to Lemuria. And
Oh, perfect. Tell me what you would think about Lemuria and manna then. Wait, you've got thoughts.
like maybe it's like a place that's like that was run on manna, like this, like maybe spiritual potency or something that like made it happen, like made things there work, like their electricity.
Well, okay, now you got
like,
me
it's kind of
interested. I was
really
gonna keep you at
kinda like-
classical Veda, but now I
kinda like
want
think about that.
I wanted to keep you at classical Veda, but you're talking about Lemuria. This is the third baseball strike, so home run time. Let's go Lemuria. Lemuria is really important. Like, we got past Atlantis. You're bored with Atlantis. Talk about Lemuria. Why is Lemuria important? You know, let's do it.
I don't know. I feel like there's like some hidden knowledge there that we can like unearth and like find that, like, you know, like not everything you're gonna discover in textbooks. Maybe there's like other ways of finding this information. Like your necklace has like this stone on it, and like that reminds me of like maybe what ancient Lemurian civilization might have been centered around.
Right.
Like the energy from different crystal rocks, and like harnessing the mana from it to power vehicles, and like to like power systems and buildings and all these machines. And like it's like, it could be my imagination, but it is my imagination probably. But I mean, it's like not impossible to have.
I'm curious what pwn. What's pwning in Tamil? Could you define pwn?
Pwn?
Yeah, pwn or pona.
How do you spell that?
Like PON or PONA or PONO. You know, it's. I mean, I could spell it in Sanskrit faster, but you know what I mean. It's hard to Google that. But if you think about in mana energy, like, okay, so like Aboriginals, Maori, Hawaiians, they all look at mana as something that's achieved through karmatic actions called pwn. Pwning is a righteous action. You just pwned that situation. You just did I pwned it. I did the positive righteous thing. I mean, it's just ingrained in our memetic culture, but it's there, you know. So this idea of pwn as a righteous move that increases effectivity of your energy, which is the mana, effectivity of energy. So Lemuria is supposed to be like this culture that existed, and then Krakatoa or whatever happened just completely disintegrated the effectiveness of the culture, and it was taken by less righteous men. And those men tended to be the rowing men on the boats, the Romans, and the rowing men ate meat and killed and survived. And this is also, if you ever read Moby Dick, Call Me Ishmael. But the truth of Moby Dick is that they thought, should we go south where there may be cannibals? We've heard stories of people that eat people. Or should we go north where we don't know what there is to expect, but we don't, you know, because of that, maybe there's something other than what we might expect. The truth was people in the south didn't eat humans. They were actually on islands they'd seen them eating monkeys or something like that, or something. I don't know if this is actually the truth, by the way. That's a harsh word to say. The way it was told to me was that they didn't necessarily eat humans, but they burned monkeys and ate them, maybe in a ritual because they saw these crazy white metallic suited people showing up on boats, and they're like, "Uh-oh, we better kill the Hanuman people," you know. So they ended up going north, and when they got north, there was nothing to eat, and so they ended up eating themselves. And if you remember, this is because they'd left. They were afraid of going north because of the south. They thought there might be cannibals. So their fear is what they became. They became their own fears because of their lack of mana, right? So there could be something to be said about cannibalism, registic behavior, Talmudic behavior, and those who took over after Lemuria, and that they were unable to understand the technology that was powered by this sort of energy. And we talk about electricity, you know, and the weird thing is like modern technology is so closely related to the fantasy novels of 2,000 years ago, supposedly fantasy novels. But I mean, you won't find a new invention that hasn't been described in detail in the Gita or in one of the older books. So it's not fair to say that it's a fantasy, because you know it looks like what it is. It's a description of something that's beyond our comprehension right now. And why is it beyond their comprehension? Because our lack of effectivity. So, and why do we have a lack of effectivity? Because we choose to do things we know have bad consequences. I mean, I hate to put it like that because it seems like a religious sermon, but that might be the thing about Lemuria. Do you think, you know, Lemuria was full of sinners? I mean, it might have not been. It might have been the place that was destroyed for the wrong reason. I don't know. But that's literally what we're finding out right now. We're doing our deepest research, trying to figure out what was going on in the Mu. You know?
Yeah. You know, maybe it was because we have all these stories in these different sources that talk about a great flood. So then there must have been a great flood.
Is there a big thing about a great flood in the Veda or in Hindu Tamil history?
Yeah.
Or
it's like the Manu Smriti.
Manamushriti? Do you want to do that as a thing? Like, you want to talk about that, or is that a? You gotta fidget. You gotta fidget. It's cool if you're tired. It's like 2 a.m. for me.
Tired, but
let's do it another time if you want.
The Indian version of the Noah and story.
You're just gonna drop it like that? It's the inversion of the Noah. I'm good. I got nothing else.
It's like the same story, but with different names, kinda. It's another deluge. Story of a deluge. Great deluge. Great flood.
Deluge. Well,
yeah.
I don't want to push you any further because we've done so much today. This is so brutal. But Yoga, I love you. Badri, you're like so beautiful. Like, you're a wonderful human being. Thank you so much. We're gonna do more stuff soon. I think everyone's gonna demand it because we had this conversation, so that's good. And yeah, you know, God bless you, and Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hallelujah. Namaste. Shalom.
Shalom. Yeah.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum. Yeah.
Everything.
God bless you, bro. You're the best. And I love your family, and I appreciate everything you guys have ever done for me. And this is just one more thing to add to the karma. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon, man.
Talk to you later.